Haven't seen you in a little while. How's it been for you?
Yeah, it's I just started listening to some recordings again this week, and just thought, oh, I've forgotten. I really love this stuff. But been through a kind of a rough patch and kind of isolated quite a lot.
So, when you say a rough patch,
Mm.
without, I mean, I don't need to know about the rough patch, but what was your relationship to it?
I think that's the $6 million question. I I how could I say it? I hated it or I hate it. I totally resist, like and I know that I feel that that's the key thing that I do um, um, and look for a way out. Um, whatever will make me feel better or keep me safe. Um, yeah, it's really different. If I try and explain a little bit, I thought, all right, I felt. I'm laughing a lot because when I'm talking to you, I can hear the stories and just think, but I felt like I was kind of getting somewhere with the non-dual stuff, with this stuff, whatever this
Mm.
stuff. Maybe about 6 months ago, I did a perfectly okay course. It was quite intensive, like about an hour's meditation of an evening. But it did seem to, I just felt better.
Yep.
I just
Yep.
felt better. I felt happier. So
Would you
no
say
question
you felt like you were getting somewhere?
Yeah, yeah. It felt like something to do with awareness, or something was shifting, and there was more of an ease, more of a flow. Um, there was one particular event, and it keeps coming back in my whatever memory is and thought is. But there was one day when I went into the bedroom just here, and it was like kind of scales falling from the eyes, and I just thought the thoughts, they just suddenly seemed unreal, and like the dialogue that constantly goes on in my head, I just seemed to see it differently. I just thought, oh my god, it really is made up. It's just a voice chattering, like, and I remember laughing and just thinking, oh God. And
Yep.
I thought, all right, that was it. I'm going to have an awakening. And it kind of just seemed to, quite sadly seemed to disappear fairly quickly. But just things like that, where I just, yeah, that's how it felt, that I was just, life felt easier. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, the winter came, and it it feels like a pattern in my life that I go through some kind of depression. I know that's just a story, but that's how it feels in the winter when it gets dark and it gets cold. And I think underneath that thought, I had a belief that this year would be different, that I got some super plated armor, that
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was making progress and all that. And it wasn't like that. It was, a lot of anxiety first thing in the morning, a lot of, yeah, sadness, whatever you want to call it, depression. And yeah, I think I just withdrew with that and just
Yeah,
kind of
cool.
hid
And
away.
it was a pretty big deal that it seemed like you had something that was really wonderful and then you lost it, eh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yep, yep.
Had a secret weapon, you know.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Now,
Um,
tell me this:
yes.
when you think back to that, what you found, what you discovered about your thoughts, and that really wonderful feeling that you had,
Mm.
when you think about that now, can you get a flavor of it? Can you get in touch with it even just a little bit? The familiarity of it.
It's just as soon as you said that, get a flavor of Vince, there's a kind of a lightness.
Yes. Okay. So
Yeah, yeah.
let me tell you this then. You didn't lose anything. What what happened was that what you discovered then lifted the lid off and allowed other stuff to come up. Right. So it's not you cannot undo. Every experience changes you. So you can't undo what happened. It happened and it changed you. Right. But then the old stuff kicks back in, right? And it comes through because you've lifted the lid, you've removed some filters, right? But the way that we are conditioned to think about this is, okay, I had something and then I lost it. I'm back to where I started from. Not possible to be
Mm,
back where you started from, right? And the mere
mm,
fact that you can get a flavor of that lightness just by thinking about it proves to
mm,
me that it did have an effect. There was a shift that took place in you with that.
mm,
So what is now more possible than it ever was before that happened is for it to, well, I won't say happen again, but a new
mm.
version of it to come back, to come in.
Thanks, Vince.
I'm not trying to make you feel better. I'm trying to point out
No,
something that
uh,
actually happens. Yeah.
yeah, I think it is so. It does. I don't know if the word make me feel better, but it's um, it's very feel very emotional just hearing that because yeah, my natural thing is oh that was then, but this is
Yeah.
your
Yep.
life's
Yep.
pretty shit. You know, you just need to accept that
Yeah.
it's pretty shit and get on with it and
Yeah.
start
And
figuring
because you've
around.
spent so much time in that pretty shit place,
Yeah,
right, it's easy to keep thinking like that,
yeah,
like when you were there.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So the thing here is, and this is a big trick. This is a really, really big trick. The thing is, let's not put our sights on that wonderful feeling
Mm,
as something to aim for,
mm,
or yeah, okay. So you can have it in the back of your mind that okay, it will be nice when you get back to the new version of that, right? But the
mm,
way you're going to get to it is not by chasing it, but rather by going through that shit stuff that's turned up.
mm, mm,
You know, pushing the shit stuff away only makes it stronger. It's not possible to kind of get you need to go through it in order to for it to lose its effect on you. And guess what? When you get through it and you're feeling good, more shit'll come up. So it's kind of,
yeah.
but that's not the bad news, There is no bad news. That's the good news.
Uh,
Every time that shit comes up, you're going to clear a bit more away, and you're only
yeah,
going to clear it away when it comes up.
yeah, yeah. I think that's really really useful, Vince. That really is. That I think it's this kind of weird, really powerful relationship I've got with the shit stuff that
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
it has to be pushed. It's gonna, if it will overwhelm. It will get.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. And you
I
fought it for
had
years, didn't you?
yeah.
And and
And
and how did that go for you? Fighting it.
not too well so far.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah. But I had some beautiful guidance from I think it's a friend of yours, Alan. He's Australian, and he just said to me this week. He just said, because I was in knots about a decision as to whether to stay. I'm in Istanbul, whether to stay another year, and he said, just think of what the worst thought is, that the one that you don't want to think that could, and then just feel it.
Yep.
Just feel it,
So he's
and
telling you
just
the same thing, eh? He's saying you gotta love it.
yeah,
Get
yeah, yeah,
through it.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Mm.
yeah, 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 yeah.
But it's see the
Thank
difference.
you,
You
man.
know, it's
Yeah.
important. It's not just words. You know, so when you a moment ago had that feeling of lightness that came in your chest, there's an experience. There's you experiencing something. You don't believe anything, you see. You experience and you know. You
I'm
thought you're
smiling,
you
Vince.
thought you were up to here, but you're only up to
Yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm 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 smiling because that is the way my head works. Is that the belief that, well, if A was true, then B will be, and then C, and then D, and it's just feeling, isn't it? It's not.
Yep.
Yeah.
So at this stage, you can you can put the idea into the back of your head that all your thoughts are totally bullshit. Later on, will work out which are good thoughts, which are useful thoughts, and which are not. But at the moment, all of your thoughts are not your friend, but they're not your enemy either. Right? They're just there. They're just like the sound of the refrigerator. You can't get away from it. It's just there. And like the sound of the refrigerator, it doesn't exist unless you pay attention to it. Can you equate that to your thoughts? They can be there, they can be telling you all this shit and some of it's really, really seductive shit. You know, they can pull you in, but you know that they're just there, that you don't have to engage with them. Now, don't get that one wrong too, because it's easy to say if I don't have to engage with them, that I can reject them, but that's not what you're going to do. They're just going to be like the breeze when you walk outside. You'll feel them, but you pay no attention to it unless it's a howling gale. And in this case, even if your thoughts become a howling gale, you can just push them back, push them in the background. You don't try and resist them. That's the thing.
Mm,
Because then you try and resist them, you engage with them.
mm. It feels like a lot of the time that I'm not even aware of them because I'm almost so lost in them,
Yep.
if that makes any
Yeah,
sense.
that
Just
does make sense for
just
sure. Yeah.
a constant story going on, and then I'm in the shower and I just think, what the hell are you thinking about that for? Like, what? Hang on, where were you? There's some revenge tragedy that I've, like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
murdered the director or whatever. And yeah, but it's when that realization happens, it's yeah, kind of not pushing on, but I don't know. It's very, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, intellectually, I get that, Vince. Kind of, I understand what you're saying, but I think, like, when I'm out in the world, shall we say, the thoughts just seem
Sure. Yep.
just the washing machine, just constant,
Absolutely. Yep. Yep. Yep.
and I'm not aware of it because I'm just in it. My
Yeah.
head's
Yeah. Yeah.
going round and round and round.
Yeah. And it's
Mm,
much more likely to suck you in
mm,
when you're distracted by interacting with other people. When you're out in the world and you're busy with something,
mm,
and the next thing you realise, oh shit, I'm lost in my thoughts again.
mm,
Right? You're in there before you realise it. But you will realise it sooner or later. Sometimes it might take a while before you realise it, and other times you'll realise it a lot quicker. But you will realise that you were lost in thoughts at some point. And it's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just a fact. And although there's that thing in the back of your mind that says it's better if I'm not engaged with it, that's not where you put your attention. The first thing you do is put your attention on your body. What are you feeling? And when you're focused on what's going on in your body, guess what? Thoughts loosen their grip. They let go.
thank you.
There's a lot of old habit that we need to change. And let's see, I shouldn't say we need to change because that's not how it changes. It changes because you realize what's happening. And when you realize what's happening, things shift. So what I
I
want
think
you
you
to,
hit on a very important point, Vince, that we don't talk about
yes,
so
go.
much. And that is, you know, we've lived our lives for so long with an anchor in our thoughts, and we need to kind of cultivate the habit of having our anchor in our body so that the habit isn't staying looking at the thoughts. The habit is staying and looking at what's happening in the body. That's how you more easily can detach from the mental narratives. So for me, I like to drop into the heart, so to speak. So my attention goes down into the chest, into the heart area. And from there, I just feel totally present. And I do that over and over and over and over again. And that has become my anchor over time rather than in my
Are you in your body now, Declan?
And then you sit because the prayer's going. Um, it's really funny that, yeah, yeah, but it almost feels empty from the neck, kind of down to the top of the stomach, like the chest and the heart. It's like this, it's like a sensation, but it feels, when you were just saying about dropping to the heart, I was trying that and it just felt like there was nothing there, but I'm trying to stay in the body right now. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I always feel,
you going?
I was going to say that with the anxiety and all that, I could feel there was a lot of fear, and it just always felt like just this tension across here whenever I felt just this tightness that was,
Yep, yep, yep,
but then feeling it really helped, really helps.
yep. So
Mm,
this will change for you as well. You will become much more mm, sensitive to what the feelings are, what the sensations are in the body as
mm,
you practice, because you could almost say that because you've lived, well, even to say lived is not right, but because the prime mover has been your thoughts, your head, your stories, right? Your body has become a bit dead. Dead's not
mm,
probably not the right word, but a numb, not even numb, because numb's a
mm,
feeling, but it's kind of a bit empty,
mm,
right? And what you're going to do is you're going to wake it up with this process, right? So you could have as your prime trigger that the moment that you recognize that thoughts are going on big time, that you're lost in thoughts, or that even thoughts are wanting to get your attention, that then will become a trigger for you to think about, become sensitive to whatever sensations you're feeling in the body. Right? And then over time, as Maria says, will replace that anchor from your head into your body. It'll be your body, and then the thoughts won't have the pull, and the stories won't have the direction that they used to have. Those things will change, and it's not like we're fixing something. It's like what we're doing is we're discovering a different path, one we've never been down. But you have been down it actually. Where when you
mm,
had that, when you saw through your thoughts that wonderful experience that you had, when you had that
mm.
shift, right? Guess what? Thoughts weren't running the show. Your body was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It was like that. I think that's what I saw, that the thoughts were there, but they were just
Yeah.
thoughts. They were
They
just
just
chatter.
background. Yeah, they didn't have any. Yeah.
And it's like, oh, they're there. Look, look, yeah, they're like a little commentary all the time.
Yep.
As much meaning as that, instead of this is the truth. Yeah, that's beautiful. It's just so simple. Just feel whatever it is.
It sounds simple, but
Mhm.
it takes practice. But you know that now, and you're primed for it. Yeah. And you'll fail 1,000 times, and you'll succeed 1,000 times. And you've only got to succeed one more time than the thousand, and you're there. Now you'll still fail, but it won't be all the time. It'll be very occasional. It'll get less and less frequent over time. But this is just a start. This is just a portal into
Mm.
what is actual. Once we get out of the trap of the head and get into what is actual, then we can start refining things. And you'll actually find that some thoughts can be quite useful. But for the moment, they're all just a heap of shit. Just yeah. How's life been for you, Jed?
Um, this week's been tricky with kind of old fears and worries showing up. Um, and it's interesting. Well, I was just thinking about it then. I had a great weekend. I'm a musician, and I did a couple of things at the weekend that went really well. Everybody was really happy, and complimentary, and as that was happen, after it happened, you know, sometimes I'll reflect and think, oh, what went really well, what was good about that. But it's easy to get. I think it's easy to get into the ego in that. Is like I did really well. People really like me. I'm really a nice person. I'm really good at this thing, and feel like, oh, this is great. And then I guess that makes the fall easier because I'm more attached.
Yep. 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 Yep.
So then I kind of came up against a wall of, oh, I haven't got enough money to pay for things. I've got to ask for money off my partner. There's the shame of not earning enough money, not being successful, and health problems. Or
Yep. All the things that could go wrong. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting, and I guess you've seen that the those good things, that ego enhancement stuff, is no different to the opposite. They're all identification,
mm,
and when we feel good about it, and as you say, it does set you up for the fall too, because it's like you get high and then you come down.
mm,
It's a hangover kind of almost.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I do a lot of. I'm part of like a therapy network, peer-to-peer therapy, and there's a lot of encouragement to feel good about yourself, to see what you're good at and feel proud and be pleased with what you've done. And I think as an antidote to the very pervasive feeling like I'm not okay,
Yep.
which I
Yep.
think
Yeah.
is, you know, it's very tempting, but I guess ultimately it's not a solution. I
Yeah,
guess.
that's true. It's true. It is. And you can see why people will do it. They want to kind of get out of that negative state, so they start to promote the positive state. But it's a trap. It works up to a certain point, but if you go too far, then of course it's a problem. Yeah. So
Mm,
really, the the fix for low self-esteem is not a high self-esteem. The
mm,
fix for low self-esteem, and in brackets for high self-esteem, is where it's a non-issue.
mm.
It's we don't want overconfidence. That's
No.
as bad in its own way as underconfidence. We want to have it as a non-issue. We don't want to even think about whether we're confident or not. It just doesn't exist. That's really the antidote that we're looking for. Yeah. So you can see that under a low self-esteem is by definition an attitude we have towards ourself. And you can apply exactly the same definition to overconfidence. It's an attitude we have towards ourself. Same thing. It's all identification. And the reality is that what is there to identify with? A story? It's all story. There's nothing to identify with. Even if you say, oh, well, I'll identify with this body. What is it about the body that we like or don't like? It's a story. There's absolutely nothing to identify with. If you were in a non-dual situation, they might have you wanting to identify with consciousness or awareness. If you're in a religious situation, they might want to have you identify with God. Or maybe they wouldn't. I don't know about that one. But regardless, it's how you see yourself. So is it possible, do you think, to not have an opinion about yourself?
I think what comes up for me around that is it's like when I think a good opinion. I want to have a good opinion about myself to kind of allay my fears about not being good enough, I guess, or not being not being safe, like because um, if I when my fears about not being, I don't know, for example, not being a good partner or not being I don't know, a person with good work ethics or good decision making, if I think that those thoughts get a hold on me, or if my life seems to suggest to me, oh, I'm not doing these things well, then I get scared about
Right.
the future, I
Okay.
suppose.
So would another
And
way to
so I
say
kind of
that,
weigh out that.
would another way to say what you just said be to say that you're not you're not fulfilling these roles in a way that you'd like to?
Mm.
And and have you got
Yeah.
scripts for these roles?
What do you mean?
Well, if your role is to be a good partner, how do you know what being a good partner is? Have you got a script that tells you what a good partner is? How you should respond and how you should whatever behave, how you should look, right? If your role is to be a good musician, have you got a script for that? Whatever what see, this is why I mean why I bring in the idea of roles, because they're all stories too.
Mm. I guess I'm basing it on what my partner wants. So I've got an idea of what, and within the basis of what I think is reasonable, what's going to make this perpetuate. What do I need to do to keep this going well in a
Right,
way that seems.
right. And you're fucked if your partner wants you to be different to the way you are, aren't you?
Well, there's a
You-
compromise, isn't there? There's a kind of merging of I guess we've kind of got a kind of implicit agreement of what we expect from each other, or some
right,
of it's explicit.
yeah. And you'd like to be able to shapeshift into what you think your partner wants from you.
Well, to some degree, I mean, obviously, I don't want it to feel like a real strain and something, wrong about it. But if it's just a bit of, oh, I just need to lean over this way a bit more than my tendency is, then yeah, I guess so. I guess I do think
Right.
I should do that.
Have you got a measure of how far it's reasonable for you to lean? Not so far that you topple, but far enough to please them? Have you got an idea of just how much leaning you're prepared to do?
I guess it's a kind of try it and see, or yeah.
Well, have you tried being just Jed? Is that acceptable for your partner?
I mean, it's not a big thing, you know. She doesn't want me to be really different. She just wants me to earn enough money to, to contribute an equal share, roughly equal
Right.
share.
Yep, yep, yep. Okay, okay. So you have got that message from her that you need to earn enough money. Right? You know how much enough is. It's that what you said, that equal share kind of thing.
Yeah, we've
Um,
got some numbers.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, Tell me, are you currently doing your best to fulfill that?
Well, it's a good question. Like I have a feeling that I could do more. There was a job came up that I said no to because it was computer based, and I don't want to live my life at a desk. And so I've been feeling a lot this week about, oh shit, if only, if only I'd have said yes to that. Uh,
So are you saying that you want to be able to provide that amount of money doing what you want to do, which is the
yeah.
music stuff, eh? Yeah, yeah.
And usually it's okay, but then there's waves. One of my jobs recently ended, and that was a chunk. And so then I get thrown into these feelings again of, oh, the shame of not
Yeah, not
providing an
enough.
equal
Yeah,
part.
yeah, yeah. Mm.
But to be honest, I have it's such a regular. I mean, every now and then it comes up this, and so this time I have been a bit more like, okay, here's those stories again of, you know, um, but a bit more relaxed of, well, it's okay because I am kind of doing my best, or I'm
Yep,
doing,
yep.
I'm doing a job of looking for more work, and so I can not get quite as, drawn into all
Yeah,
that
yeah,
shit.
yeah, yeah.
But it's still there to some degree, and my body's been feeling kind of a bit panicky this week, and like quite irritable, and not so much the thoughts this time, but it's still,
Yeah,
yeah,
still
the
there. Yeah,
body.
yep, yep, yeah.
Yeah,
So you haven't yet developed the trust that these cycles will that
no,
the low that it's in at the moment will become a higher in sometime. But history says that, yeah, that's likely to happen though, doesn't it?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what do you get out of beating yourself up?
What do I get out of it? Uh,
I'm being intentionally provocative, but
right.
still, yeah,
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah,
that
no, it's a
things
good.
are going to come okay, or at least you've got a story that they'll become okay, and that's very likely to happen. But in the meantime, you're giving yourself a hard time. What's the gain out of that? What do you get out of that?
Well, what popped into my mind was it kind of reaffirms my sense of being, not okay in some way, less than.
Okay. So yeah, so it's not just a case of I'm a responsible person because I'm worried about it when it's not good. It's a case of, oh, this confirms that I'm not okay. That's
Yeah, I
a
think
pretty
that's
heavy
right.
duty one, that one, isn't it? So there's a recognition that there's a deeper belief that you've got about yourself that there is a problem or that there is a not
Yeah, I mean,
okayness.
there's a story about my dad leaving when I was little, and maybe the way I made sense of it as a child was, oh, there's something wrong with me, and that got, re traumatized quite a few times over my childhood with my dad. So even though, rationally, I know that's not true, um, it still has a power and it still has a life, I guess, within me, that belief, that
Okay,
part.
yeah. Now this is an interesting one because you can see intellectually where what this rests on, where it came out of. But because you're keeping it at an intellectual level, the story's not changing. You're still giving that story power, right? What if you switched it around that instead of saying that's the reason why you are now, if you switched it around to recognize that that's how that conditioning occurred, right? Same
Say that again,
circumstances,
please.
yeah, same circumstances, but instead of saying that's why I am the way I am, right? You're saying that is the circumstances that the circumstances where the conditions existed, the circumstances existed that conditioned me to think in that way, to feel that way, right? So it's a subtle difference, but what I'm saying is that it isn't the way you are because of that, but rather you were conditioned because of those circumstances. And if you see it that way, then it becomes obvious that you can decondition or uncondition yourself.
Mm,
Whereas if you
okay.
say, I am that way because, it's like you're locked in.
Mm, mhm. So it's kind of remembering every time the feelings or the pattern comes up, oh, here's that conditioning doing its thing again.
Right. And so have you got access to the audio files for from these meetings? Do you get
Yeah,
that email that I sent out each week? Yeah.
yeah,
So on that is a link to the audio files. And if you go to those audio files, there's one there, and you can do a search for it called um, I forget now. You now, you then, something like that. Just put in the word "you" in search for that. Now that's a meditation, and if
okay.
you do that, it will take you through going back to young Jed and explaining to him from an adult perspective that it wasn't his fault, that it was conditions that created that way of looking at it. And so I'm suggesting that you give that a go. Go and do that, and it's ideal to do that just before you go to bed, and then take it with you as you go off to sleep. It makes it a bit more powerful, but yeah, very definitely right. So as an adult now, you can see the circumstances quite clearly, but that young Jed is still in you, right? And he still thinks it's his fault that Dad left, right? Whereas the reality is, so Louise has just put up a link for that video for you. Yeah.
Thanks.
So the reality is that young Jed just needs to be updated with old Jed's wisdom, with old Jed's perspective on what actually happened. You're not a prisoner in that,
Mm,
right? But while you keep it at an intellectual level, nothing changes. It's just thoughts about it. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
So,
thank you, Frank.
so you know as an adult that there's no reason for you to have a low self-esteem. But the reality is that you feel that it is there.
Yeah.
And there's another reality too. It's interesting, isn't it? That comes and goes. It's not static. Sometimes it's more prominent. Other times it's hardly prominent at all. Other times it probably doesn't exist at all. But then if something goes wrong, boy, doesn't it come to the front?
Yeah.
You know, if your partner says, well, you should be earning more money, you immediately hook into that. Oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, bugger, bugger, bugger. It's not my fault. Oh, I'm a victim, etc. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it is just circumstances. The whole thing is just circumstances. Yeah. And talking about it like this is really valuable, really, really valuable, because that kind of brings it out into the open where you can see it. And it's not something, if you keep it hidden, it's like it's the monster under the bed. You never get to shine the torch under there and see what's there. It's only by bringing it out into the open that you can get to see, put it into perspective, if you like. Yeah,
Yeah.
good stuff. And just like with Declan, the old low self-esteem will keep rearing its ugly head until it doesn't. So it's not a bad thing when it does. It's a good thing in that it should trigger you into going, let's look at this, right? It was conditions that brought this
Yeah.
about, circumstances that's what happened. Yeah. And so in the end, your memory of what happened is it's not going to change, but your perspective on it will. Your attitude towards it will change. Now I feel like I'm doing too much talking here.
No, it's good, Vince. Thanks. I
Yeah.
mean, I've done plenty of work on it in therapeutic context, but I like the idea of a meditation I can do and go to bed with it. And yeah, I like what you say about just remembering when it comes up to just give the rational version of events to myself like that. And there's that
Yeah, yeah,
conditioning
yeah.
again.
But,
Yeah,
but remember, young Jed hasn't got your language ability and the nuance in the words. So how you're going to communicate, although you'll use words, young Jed is going to appreciate or be moved by what you feel. And he'll pick that up in the tone of voice that you use, in the feeling in your heart as you talk to him, right? More than the actual meaning of the words. We're going to love our way out of this. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Thanks. Yes, I mean, it's funny, there's some blind spots, aren't there? And the many things that come up for me, and that's, I'll just be like, I love that. I'll just direct some love to my heart and, say some loving words. But then when this stuff comes up, I've not quite, you know, got that habit with it. And that's when it gets me, and I've struggled to disentangle myself from it and,
Yeah.
and be
Yeah.
loving towards it.
Yeah, it sucks you in. Look, some of this stuff is so seductive. The hooks are really right in there. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's right. Yeah. Thanks, Vince.
No
One
worries.
thing that might be helpful for anybody who's kind of struggling with getting sucked into trigger is if if you can kind of try to cultivate a habit to remember that when you start feeling a trigger, when you start feeling uncomfortable, just you might remember that everything that I'm thinking from this point on is going to be delusional. Because then you become aware of the story, where you're going, right? So like as soon as you feel a trigger, as soon as you feel something uncomfortable, hopefully by remembering this conversation, you will get reminded that, oh, from this point on, my thoughts is like, it's like being on drugs. It's not it's not logical. It's not reality. And that kind of creates a space where you can hopefully look at it from not only the perspective of the thoughts you're having, but take a step back and kind of question the narrative that is starting to play.
Good one.
Yeah. It's like your thoughts have taken on the job to distract you from the discomfort.
Uh, yeah, that's right. I'm so uncomfortable that the mind's just like, oh, fuck. Yeah, it makes sense.
I feel like you're bursting to say something, Louise.
I am actually. That's funny. Yeah, just what you were talking about this week. Been in a lot of pain actually. I'm usually I don't have pain, but I have got a big 9 centimeter burn, so I've had that as an experience. And what at the beginning, I I realized I was getting really sucked into the stories, and I was watching the stories of self pity and woe me and who's going to help me, and because I live on my own, I've got two children, but they're all my and yeah, I just was watching all of this, and also they put me on medication, and I've noticed the difference, and it seems sometimes quite difficult to get in touch with that space, whatever it is again. But so I kind of just have been watching that. Sorry, don't. She always goes mad when I'm talking on here. And the last couple of days, I've actually I noticed I was walking towards the thoughts. As Mario just said, I was focused more on the thoughts. And what I've looked at doing is actually looking at the pain a lot more. So gone into really, really feeling the pain, and actually what was noticed is its sensation, like it's very intense sensation. And there was a very, very brief moment where it was just like real love for that pain. Like I know that sounds really strange, but it was like how do you describe it? Like it wasn't pain anymore. Pain was the label on top of the sensation. And I suppose since then, I've just had much more compassion. So instead of seeing it as something that wants to go away, like it's actually doing what it needs. Something's happening that needs to be healing this physical body. And so there's been much more compassion. So it's not very nice, like as a, as a human being, it's actually quite uncomfortable. And stuff needs doing, like it needs dressing and all those things. But the relationship to the pain has been quite different. Um, yeah, and it's like the trigger of the pain happens, and I can see that there's two ways to go. I can go with the thinking, and I can remember, and then I remember, like Myra just talked about, the remember that this is okay. This is it too. This is how it is. Um, I suppose the thing I'm struggling with, I don't know if it's struggle, but the thing I'm noticing is that when I come into contact with them, so if I'm on my own, I'm okay with it, like it's fine. But if somebody says to me, "How are you doing?" I've noticed this pattern of really wanting to play the victim of the child. It's like the child wants to have it wants something. I don't know what it wants, but it wants, and as the words are coming out, I'm like, why are you doing that? You don't need that anymore. You don't need someone to be feeling sorry for you anymore. Um, so yeah, it's like I'm conscious of something, but then there's another pattern playing out at the same time that just is going. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there.
Hmm. Hmm. I, my head's echoing with the word connection.
Mhm.
And it's just, see, this is about me, of course. And I notice that that's something that I do. If somebody says to me, "How you going?" I kind of almost automatically, I don't, not conscious, but I turn it around and I go, "Well, tell me about you. What's going on for you?" Right? And it's like that's how I get my connection with other people. And I just had the idea, and I have no idea how accurate it is, that when you have that pull to slip into the victim role, it's because there's something really positive about the connection that happens. If they feel sorry for you, or if they have compassion for you, or whatever that however they might be respond when you tell them about this terrible thing that's happened to you, there is a bit of intimacy. I wonder if that's what it's about.
The response appears to be disappointing.
Say
It's
more.
like it's like it's not enough. It's like it's not enough. Yeah, I've noticed that too. Doesn't matter what people say, it's not enough.
Mm.
Yeah.
So
But then I can do my own and it's okay.
what comes up here, Louise, I recognize that tendency in myself, so I can relate to what you're saying. Um, and I don't try to understand why it's there, what it's about, but more that, like you said, nobody can really meet up to that need or that want, no matter how hard they try. Um, so for me, whenever that comes up, it's just allowed to come up, and then it's also seen that it's it's a beautiful opportunity to direct some love and compassion to oneself, because it's just a pattern that needs recognition. So in that moment, just give it what it needs. You can give that to it yourself. You don't need anybody else to give that to you.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's what I noticed after, because I see the pattern, and I think you're right. It's like I don't want the pattern anymore, but because it feels icky, it doesn't feel good. Um, yeah, and I suppose it's about expectations. I have expectations of how people should respond as well. Yeah,
Yeah, but even that, in what you said it felt icky. So there's a judgment there, right? It's not welcome. So
yeah,
next time, try to not frame it as icky, or if you catch yourself framing it as icky, then hopefully this will come up and you'll remember to just meet it with compassion. It's not icky, it's just a, a line of programming that has been installed into you from not getting recognized at some point in your life.
yeah. Just like the pain, like giving the pain. It's funny that the compassion is there for the pain,
Exactly.
but not for the pattern. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. It's really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you feel, Lou, that some resolution has happened for you?
I do actually. Yeah, it's like really gone into my. It went into my belly, went into my stomach.
Great. Thank you.
It's just that, like I talked about last time, that compassion, and the compassion can be there for some things, but then, and that's the constant, isn't it? That's the constant learning, like what's not wanted, what's rejected, what's not, what wants to be different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels more like I feel a bit more in focus.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. It opens up possibilities, eh? Just, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that compassion is so, it's I don't even know if it's compassion. It's just like just total. Oh, it's just like it's like being scooped up in.
Absolutely. Yeah. Being held, being supported, yeah, yeah,
Mm, yeah, again, just recognition again. Yeah,
All of this is about allowing and accepting everything. you know
yeah,
so exactly what you just said is the continuous learning or continuous gift we get is to look at or be presented, life presents us with opportunities to see where we're not accepting, where we're not embracing and having compassion for parts of ourselves that we don't like or we think that shouldn't be there.
Yeah. Yeah. We just had that. So this week, as part of the pain and yeah, that belief and the thoughts that come up as no, I feel a little vulnerable saying this. Like, I don't want my life to be like this. This is not how I expected my life. um, and the suffering is there when that's the case. And then I had moments when I realized that that's future. You know, how I want it to be. That's how I thought it would be. But actually, right now, there's such gratitude for this, and that's just, you know, those words have been said so many times, but you know, sometimes the mind comes in and says, is this it? Is this it? Yeah. And like, I think I've said this over and over again, is it really okay to just stay here? Not that I'm staying anywhere, but this, is it really okay? And then each time I feel that embracing of like everything's okay, then it's like more and more that's I want to say trust, but it's not even trust, it's just yeah, like you said earlier about falling into the heart, this area here. It's like that's just the place that it yeah, I can just feel it again. And it's so obvious at the moment, right now, that if I go back to think about if those thoughts are believed, then that suffering comes again and the emotions come.
Isn't it weird that we can kind of turn it on and turn it off? It's like, you know, we know that there's another way of looking at this that can just bring on such suffering, such horrible feelings, and it's almost like we choose to not do that. That we choose to view it from a perspective where everything is okay. Everything is actually more than okay. It's quite wonderful.
Yeah. So even
Isn't that weird? I do.
yeah. Well, yeah, why is that? Why do we prefer that if it's all embraced? Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy because I mean the logic says maybe we want it not to be great sometimes.
I wonder if that's like that's part of upbringing and conditioning and society.
Well, certainly that's I agree. That's how it comes into being for sure. Yeah. Do you I remember as a kid, I don't know, I don't have specific memories, but I'm sure I think I remember that I was told again and again, don't be too cocky, don't be too overconfident, don't be that way. It's not good, it's not right.
I don't think I know what you mean, Vince.
I hadn't seen it before like that, but I think that's the parameters of what is socially acceptable are quite narrow and quite defined, I think. Quite restrictive is another way to put it. Yeah, it feels very restrictive.
I feel quite restricted now, actually, my chest. Yeah. I have to be a certain way. Yeah.
That might be helpful to investigate what is the consequence or the believed consequence of not being that certain way. Because this is all about fear. So what is the consequence or the believed consequence of being cocky? Is it to not be liked by other people, not be accepted?
Yeah. Yeah. And left. Yeah. Not join in. Wouldn't let me join in. Yeah.
Yeah, I was
And
thinking that too. Yeah.
what would be the consequence of that?
Be on my own. And I would feel the feelings of abandonment and not fitting in and not being part of. Yeah.
And
Being
what happens
voluntary.
when you face those things? What happens if you accept being alone?
I like being on my I'm not on my own.
It's a difference between having the option of alone time and being completely abandoned.
I the abandon so if I think about being alone time, that feels very nurturing. The abandonment is very contracting. It's very like, ugh.
Yeah.
It's that it's really contracting. It's that new, I move schools a lot, and it's that new girl in the playground feeling. Everyone's looking at me. I'm not like, yeah, I've got to put a mask on. Got to pretend to be, I've got to pretend to be confident. There we go. Gosh, I have to pretend to be confident.
It's not okay to be weak.
Or shy. I kept being told I was shy when I was young. I hate that word. Yeah. I hate that word.
Is it okay to be shy?
Yeah. Yeah, it's okay not to be confident, not to know what to say, not to pretend to be something else.
Do what you just did with your fingers again. Yeah, do that. What is that about?
Feels quite good. Feels quite calming.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, it's just moving up to my head. God, it'd be okay to not say anything. Be okay not to actually. Right.
Actually, what?
Shy. I do feel shy. Yeah.
Notice how, and I have that too because I was a shy boy. The negative connotations of being shy, which is completely bullshit. It's okay to be shy.
Yeah.
So shy is unconfident, and that makes you get picked on by people in the schoolyard, get bullied. Does it invite bullying to be unconfident? Was that an experience for you?
um so what I can't kind of label it as bullying, but it was more being left alone. It wasn't. So what I remember as we're just doing that is I was in a German school as an English speaking. I went to a German school. I hadn't thought about this before, and I think I must have been about 4, kindergarten age, and just not being able to join in. So my jaw is really tight, but just frozen. So I just, maybe it was just easier not to speak because I didn't speak the language. Maybe I wasn't shy. Maybe I just didn't have a way of saying what I wanted to say.
Mm.
Okay.
Do you
If I can say, I was called shy also when I was teenager, and I thought it's a very nice way of calling this, because I was just socially awkward. But it's not such a nice thing. Shy is quite nice.
Yeah, I felt awkward, definitely.
Yeah, I didn't have the skill. And the lack of the skill was harming me, yes. And I was lonely because of that. Because I was not able to take care of myself, of my needs of contact.
So it's isolating.
Mm. It's what?
Isolating. Isolating.
Yes, isolate.
Yeah, which is what I do now because it's quite safe.
Mm.
Yeah. Wow, everything's just this has got wider. Oh, poor girl, poor little girl.
Mm. Is it obvious that it was circumstances that created this experience?
No, I don't think it is. Do you mean what I just talked about the language and
Being isolated because of what we call shyness. Was that a reflection of circumstances that were, in your case, the language thing? In Bianca's case, the lack of social skills. Would you say skills? Those are
ah,
circumstances that created this situation, and out of that situation came certain kind of self judgment.
yeah, I can see that now. Didn't see that before. Yeah. Oh,
Another thing that just came up here is how we are programmed to believing that self compassion is somehow wrong, but not in those words. It's just when we have self pity, we understand it, I think, as also it not being okay to have compassion for oneself. So don't have too much self-pity. That's like a negative thing. And of course, the victim stories is not helpful, but I think it subtly sets up this belief that it's wrong to be compassionate towards oneself.
Yeah. Self-compassion is really new, but it's very powerful. It's really powerful. And it's not selfish. It's not a selfish thing.
Yeah, not at all.
Then it goes outwards. Then it's like that is then reflected onto others. I can see there's a lot less me in the conversation with other people then. Yeah. Ooh.
Mm. Absolutely. Compassion for ourself almost generates compassion for others, for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole body's buzzing.
Mm.
Nice to be part of the meeting, not just watching. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was thinking about my, I don't know how, mood of state of resignation. I mean, how I feel, and I don't think I can find the trigger for it, because it feels so permeating everything. I know that sometimes I look very lively and laughing, but inside I feel it's a bit of gallows humor. Or a distraction.
A distraction from what?
From feeling this resignation.
Okay. Okay.
How does resignation feel?
like a hole in my chest. It's takie sinking in the middle of my chest. I was always a shallow breather.
It's funny how we interpret sensations in different parts of the body differently. So when I hear you describe that feeling in the chest, the interpretation here comes up as sadness. I usually feel a deep sadness if I feel it here, not resignation.
Sadness is a part of resignation.
Okay.
Sadness, helplessness.
Is it okay for that sadness to be there?
There is no escape from it.
That's not really the same though, if it's
No, it's resignation again.
What are you sad about?
That there is no escape.
No escape from what?
From what is.
Is what is the sadness?
Sadness, among other things.
So you're sad about the fact that there is no escape from being sad.
Among other things.
Mm. That's pretty circular, though, isn't it? That one, which
Well,
is
you
an
know,
epitome of no escape.
there's no escape from living.
Ah,
And you equate living as sadness, among other things. in order to equate living with equality, there needs to be some kind of story, doesn't it? Some kind of filter you're looking out of.
Yes.
And what is that?
There is something disgusting in me, disgust for the mechanism of life.
Can you say more about that mechanism of life?
Replicating, getting energy, spreading, growing. Defending itself.
Sounds like a virus.
Or cancer?
And it's hard to tell if virus is alive or not, but it seems like the simplest form of life mechanism. Well, there are also viroids. They don't have this defense mechanism because when you have a cell, it has a membrane. When virus don't have this membrane, doesn't have this barrier. It has a protein cover, and viroid doesn't even have this viroid cover. It's just a thread of RNA.
But all of that is a story, right? So, like,
Well,
I'm not
it's
interested
it's
if
an
it's fact or
example.
not. Yeah, yeah. But my point is just, if you were to direct your attention now to a sensation in the body, your reality, I would guess, wouldn't be seen through the story of that disgusting mechanism you equate to life.
Then I would just be this disgusting mechanism.
No, you would just be. Disgusting mechanism is the story.
The mechanism is ongoing. In any moment, I'm not just being.
So if you rest your attention in the body, you feel a disgust for life. Is that correct?
Feels like going into the body is another distraction.
Yeah, that's another story, though. It's like need to assign a quality or a story to what life is rather than not, rather than just seeing it as this something completely unknown.
Maybe the story is the result of need of explaining this feeling of disgust.
Yeah, that's a possibility. It's something we all frequently do when we don't want to feel a sensation, is to assign a label and an explanation or a story to that. But that doesn't mean that that is what is real. It's just the story we selected.
Yeah.
But then when we understand that mechanism, that tendency to assign a story to it, we don't have to assign a story to it anymore.
I haven't assigned it, it assigned it itself.
So maybe I should say that when there is awareness that there is an assigned story to it, what could happen through seeing this is an awareness of not paying attention to that story anymore.
Why not?
Well, if you don't want to feel resignation as you started off with, I got the feeling that it wasn't a place you wanted to reside, so to speak. Maybe I misunderstood or assumed something. Maybe you like it there.
I think there's no other choice.
But I just gave you a perspective of another choice. You clearly see that it's a story, it's a filter that you're assigning to a sensation, right?
Yes.
Or is that it is a sign, not something you actively are doing, but that is what is happening. And by seeing that, it also creates an opportunity. An opportunity to see that or that there is an assigned story, and not paying that story any attention anymore, get back into an unfiltered state.
It doesn't present to me as opportunity.
Well, we just had this conversation now, and it might be presenting another time after this conversation, or it might not.
Mm. I feel like I'm missing something.
Can I share something from my own experience? Because I feel like I can relate to things that you share, Bianca. Because also you have shared about having, I forgot what it's called, trauma, like infant traumas. And I also had an infant trauma. And no matter how my outside life presented itself, I still always had a sense of like something's wrong and I'm not safe. And so I can relate to you saying things like, it's not a story, like, I don't even have any recollection of when it came about. It feels like it's always existed. And that a story I really couldn't get away from. It just was, it felt like it was part of me. So what I notice in when you'll speak with things, and it's something I used to do as well, it's there can be a tendency of the mind to always want to jump in because that has been a survival mechanism that kicks in right away as soon as any type of trigger wants to or is inviting to feel a sensation. And it happens so automatically. Again, I'm speaking for myself, but it might be something that resonates with you to identify in yourself. And I mean, it took a while for me to even identify that that happens. And it wasn't something either that I feel like I got rid of, but there was an element of, I wouldn't say I ever got, like resignation felt like a, I don't know, there was an inkling, I guess, all the time of there's something here that I'm not seeing. And it wasn't about that I need to get rid of this fear of life, because ultimately that's what it always was. It's a fear of living for me. And feeling like I can't handle things that happen. You know, I'm not like other people. I can't do exciting things because they're too scary. I mean, everything. It seemed limiting when the outside life, I mean, it is beautiful. I have a beautiful life. I don't have any stressful things or people really. So for me, it just took more acceptance of when feelings would come up. but then not judging myself that I shouldn't be having them. Is the best. So I've also heard you say something about like what does it mean to see through fear, or it took me even a long time to even be able to know what it feels like to be in my body. I mean, I remember people used to say things like, oh, well, get in your body. And I remember being like, get in my body? Like, what do you mean I'm in my body? I didn't even know what they were talking about until, again, I don't know what shifted in it, but something did shift to where, but I also knew, yeah, I don't feel like I'm in my body, but I don't know what that means and I don't know how to get in it. But it took then working on things of like, well, like little things. If you just sit here for a minute, can I feel a tingling in my hands that they exist? Like I took little things like that to just notice sensations in my body. And that was a start to feel, because it wasn't safe. It wasn't safe to be in this body. That was a story that came to protect myself, because being in the body meant I have to like be here. If I'm in my body, I have to be here. And there was a thing that like, well, that's not you, I shouldn't be here because it's not safe to be here. Again, it was just a process, but every time you can recognize that your mind jumps in to try to save you, I mean, it's an automatic thing, but it does have the potential to shift. And definitely like somatic therapies and things to help you get inside your body is the only thing I can think of that can help detach a little bit that jumping up in the mind, because it does happen automatically. You can't control that. But there is a sense, I mean, I guess I want to offer hope that it doesn't have to, it's not something that needs to be resigned to, that life is unsafe. That is a story that was created. It can be seen differently. You can't make it be seen differently, but it can be seen differently over time with getting inside your body that can help with different therapies.
Well, yes, I think there is something that I can go into tingling in my fingers, but it's never just tingling. It seems impossible for me to be just tingling.
Well, what do you mean? Well, if you feel more, that's fine. That's all I could get was tingling in my hands. Like that was the only sensation that I could identify with. If you're feeling more sensation, that's great.
Yeah, but I mean, but there is calling it tingling.
Well, you're noticing.
The mind activity.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like there needs to be only, like, yes, you're identifying, oh, tingling in my hands, but it's still a noticing. I mean, you can't jump from, I couldn't just jump from noticing a sensation and not labeling it, but at least I could identify that I was having a sensation.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, does that make sense? That yeah, that's like to me, it's there's
Yeah.
not a we don't have to like jump into, well, now I'm in my mind. I mean, our mind can label things as an identification. Like it needs to be steps. I don't feel like I can just jump then to, oh, I don't have to label this as tingling. It's about starting to even notice something is even happening in there and identifying it.
I can do that. I just don't see how it changes anything. It's just done.
That's because your mind is still trying to protect yourself. It doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter that you can think, I don't know how that's going to change things, because again, that's jumping up into your mind to say, don't go there, don't go there. I mean, again, that's just been my experience. That's how I can relate to the things that you'll say from the mind to like, nope, don't do that. Nope, don't do that. Because I did it.
I haven't said that I don't know how it changes. I don't see changes.
But that is the mind still trying to like grabbing onto that thought as opposed to, well, maybe. Like even a, well, maybe is a different energy than like a giving up. And I mean, if that's okay if you want to give up, I just, I'm sensing that you don't because you wouldn't, there's something also compelling you to these meetings and to share what you share. So something's there.
Yes, there is maybe.
Yeah.
There
And
is.
gentle
I didn't hear
stuff.
your word. There is what?
Maybe.
Maybe. Mm.
And just gentleness with yourself. I mean, I sense a lot of hardness on yourself, even though it seems like your mind might come in and say, no, I'm really not hard on myself. I just accept it for how it is. I mean, that feels like a defense that comes up. Again, I just feel like I relate to it and I could be wrong about it, but it's like, oh yeah, yep. I used to do that. I used to do that. And it still does come up, but it's a lot different. I don't fear, I'm starting to not fear life the same way. And I mean, it's been amazing to not fear life because I've never not known that. So I know it's possible.
So that's it in a big way. That your gift to Bianca is that it's possible, even though she keeps thinking, I can't see how.
You know, there was a time when I was exercising with weights. And after 2 weeks, I could see that it's already easier for me. I don't know, to do, I could do 10 repetitions and now I can do 20. And it was very motivating to continue. because I could see change. When I don't see change, it's the motivation is just not arising.
Yep, and that's our minds thinking, I want it now. It needs to be now or quickly, or how long is it going to take? It takes until it takes.
Well, they also say that if you do something and see no results and you repeat it, it's insanity. I haven't said it well.
Yeah,
No, I
I've
know.
heard that one. Yeah.
but you know the saying.
Do the same
Well,
thing over and over again, expecting a different result. That's a definition of insanity. Yeah. Yeah.
but see, again, that's also a thought that keeps you safe. And also, my mind tended to own, like, interpret a result or not see actually already results, minimizing the results that actually were happening. So, but the fact that you come to these meetings, do you give yourself credit for that?
Oh, I just come to these meetings because I can do otherwise.
Yes.
There is no merit and no fault. It's like this with everything. I feel resignation because I can't do otherwise.
Right. I mean, that's true, but I think we can also kind of just like I couldn't have switched to any non-doership too early. Like there's a sense for a while because I think of the trauma, I couldn't have looked at it from the perspective of, well, I'm not really doing it. I mean, I know ultimately we're not, but there is some drive that happens. I mean, I don't know.
We have
Just,
different histories. And
of
well,
course.
I think just my history was such that I went to this non-doership very easily.
Well, all I'm saying though too is that if non-doership though is something that is allowing your mind again to attach to of I didn't do this or I did do this or I don't have control over this. It's still a sense of the mind tricking you into following the thought around non-doership. I mean, that's why it's like, man, it's a tricky shit, this brain. The brain of like trying to keep us safe will try to nab us every single time. And so, yes, you may be the non-doership, but letting the thought around non-doership doesn't have to be really relevant. Still can be just going into the body, starting to feel your body. I don't know.
Yeah. It's tricky stuff. Non-doership does not mean helplessness. It can, but that's not what's intended.
Oh. Well, I guess it depends. Helplessness about what?
Mm. So if you're helpless and if things just happen, then change can happen and good things can happen, and you could become somebody that does not feel resignation. That could happen in exactly the way that anything else can happen.
Yeah.
I think that non-doership, understood intellectually, can also be this, what should I say? This belief in resignation towards life as well. So it's like, well, I can't do anything about it, so I'm not going to try.
Oh
But
no, I'm trying and I can't
yeah,
do.
I'm not saying you're not trying. I'm just saying that there could be a subtle,
I just wanted to describe what does it mean to me to be helpless. It means that I'm trying and
not getting the results.
How's things been for you, Scott?
Good. I wanted to tell you before, I don't know what else will come out of my mouth, but I wanted to tell you that my partner, as I've said before, struggles with complex PTSD, and sometimes he has events, emotional activations, whatever you want to call them. And I had told her about your chat bot, your Chat GPT awakening bot, and she asked me for a link, and so I gave her the link, and before you know it, she started asking it questions while she was in a being dysregulated, and so far 2 or 3 times it's been able to help her just navigate right through it. It's really really helped quite a bit. She's really enthralled with it. And just before the meeting, I was thinking about the doggy thing and the fear of helplessness. So I don't, for some reason, I kind of have been. It's something about talking into the phone. I don't like to type, and I'm not used to type. Anyway, I've been kind of avoiding it. So right before the meeting, I got the thing out and I said, I want to work into this fear of helplessness. My dog got sick, and it came out with this big, really interesting. Like I didn't even get a chance to finish reading it, but a way of like inquiring into the fear of helplessness. So I'm going to experiment with that like later on today. But I just wanted to let you know that it's been helpful to both of us, and it looks like I want to open up a door because to me it's one of my biggest like roadblocks. Is like, well, how do I inquire into this? And it seems like it's a great resource for that.
Excellent.
So
Yeah.
I just want to tell you
Give it
that.
a hard time. Ask it
Well,
questions that, get really, really tricky subtle, in-depth kind of questions. Go for it. Give it everything you've got.
I did that a little bit I don't know, maybe a month ago or a couple weeks ago, I tried to trick it, and it's very good at redirecting you back into actual inquiries. It's really good at that. um,
I'm playing with the instructions right now as today I've been doing it, and I haven't given it to them yet, but I'm wanting it to be a little bit more compassionate and humane in its responses. It seems it's a little bit too categorical, I think, if you know what I mean.
Don't make it too nice.
Mm.
So yesterday I was in an experience that would have invited me to get activated and tell myself how myself is so unlikable and everything. And it was kind of an ongoing thing, right? So I like the thought arose, and I was like, oh, that's like old stuff. Like, what is that? Like, it arose, and I go, oh, okay, yeah, well, it's just a thought, and there were some disturbances, bodily disturbances, sensations, and the thought came up again. I was like, yeah, just another thought, and I kind of went to my body a little bit, and it just kind of like went away, like, and the situation remained the same the whole time. So it's like I could have easily judged myself and said, oh yeah, see, look, but really I noticed, like, actually today was when it dawned on me that, like, the thought just wasn't sticky like they used to be. Like, it just, one or two times they came up, I recognized it as a thought, didn't really have anything to do with reality, and they basically just kind of went away. So I wanted to kind of dovetail from the body discussion that we've been having, and when I, again, like as been described in the beginning, when I was told, oh, go to your body, whatever, I also did not really understand, because to me, an emotion, when I was in emotion, like before I started any of this, it was just this big, mesh of bad stuff that I couldn't even, come close to pulling apart or anything. It's just a huge mass of bad stuff. And so I just tried to, like, what is this? Go to the body. And then after a while, I started getting the feeling of my emotion body, like the center. Most of the time when I'm like activated, it kind of is somewhere between, say, my throat to my abdomen, or anyway, listening to Todd, and I, it's kind of become clear to me that, like, it's really the only thing that you need to do. Like, you can't think your way out of this mess. It's impossible. It just, don't even bother trying to think your way out, And when we go to our mind, it's always a distraction from what we're feeling.
Mm.
And so, like, once I kind of got a feeling of, like, oh yeah, I can identify this body sensation, I just started, every time it was usually negative, because that's what, every time I felt a sense, felt activated. And like I said, it's usually a negative activation, because that's what, kind of,
Yep.
that's what caught my attention. So it was always negative, but each time I had an activation, I would just go straight to my emotion body and just feel it. And in the beginning, I was doing it with the expectation of having it go away. And so it wasn't working. And I was like, this isn't working. So I stopped doing it for a while, kind of lost interest in it, then started back up again. And after a while, I realized, oh yeah, it's not about making it go away. It's just about feeling it. So instead of, like, trying to sit there for an hour waiting for it to go away, I would just go to my sensations, feel it for a few seconds. I don't know how long, until it felt, okay, well, I'm concentrating on it. And I feel like it's okay. It's time to just go ahead and, live my life.
Mm.
And, like, for Bianca, like, I just want you to, I wanted to say that, like, it seems like it's not doing anything. It does. But by taking your attention away from the thought and putting it on the sensations in your body, the first thing you're doing, this is the logical explanation. The first thing is we're taking our attention away from the thought, because the thought is all about distracting us from what's in here. And especially when it's your trauma from when you're pre-verbal, you can't talk that out. It's just, you just can't do it. You have to feel it. So you got to go looking for it. Like, go inside, get in there and feel your feelings. Just do it until you start to get a feeling of like, oh yeah, I can identify this is a sensation that kind of happened after whatever that thought was. I don't know what it was, because they disappeared just like within 30 seconds. You wouldn't even remember what the thought is. But I'm pretty sure that that's what created my first shift is like, you take the thought, you realize that the thought isn't really connected to this sensation. So you're letting this stuff come out, and you're breaking that feedback cycle. You know how we all say, yeah, we go straight to thought, It's a feedback cycle. We want to get away from this feeling, this sensation that we have. So that's why we go to thought all the time. And it does several things. One, it starts to, like, I think in the back somewhere, it starts to get your brain to realize, yeah, thoughts really aren't as important as I thought they were, you know? And it also takes us out. So we're not creating more conditioning, you know, like, because every time you think to yourself, every time I think to myself, I'm a bad person, there's a tiny little bit of change that happens in my brain, you know? Every time I have one of those negative thoughts, or, you know, self-deprecating thoughts, or whatever it is, or I'm stuck, or I'm not safe, or whatever feeling, I've had all those thoughts and feelings. And I'm pretty sure that's what led me to be able to be open enough to have that first shift. And I can only tell you that it's worth the effort. Like, I just encourage you to try to make the effort to do that. It's, you can look at it just like training. It's like lifting a weight. Oh my, I'm going to my body. It's like doing a bicep curl. Okay. Something else happens. Oh, I'm going to do some bench presses. You know, it's just like, just repeat it until it becomes stronger, just like your muscles. Anyway, I'm off my high horse.
That was a good one, Scott. Thank you.
I see you, Bianca.
I know it's probably getting late for you, Vince, but I heard something yesterday and I wanted to see kind of what you thought about it. Someone was speaking about how, like, I know in general in Buddhism it talks about like you shouldn't have desires or whatever because that creates suffering. This person was saying that desires arise because it's already something wanting to come into your life. And so it's not that you're making it, it's not that you have to do anything to make it happen, but that it arises because it's kind of like an invitation, I guess, maybe. I don't know. I don't remember how it was worded, but I thought that was interesting. And I'm reflecting on that in my own life because I've been having this desire to move and I feel like I'm getting attached to it and feeling like, well, if this doesn't happen, I don't want to be too attached to it. Or, but anyway, like, do you have any thoughts about desires and
Mm. Yeah, so if a desire turns up, it's not about the desire. That's just the outward expression of something. Something has triggered that desire. And in a way, I guess you're talking or asking about how do we respond to a desire. Forget about that Buddha bullshit about that desire and suffering thing. I think essentially.
Oh, she. Well, if I may
Yes, please go for it.
get in with the Buddhist view, it's not desire, it's clinging to the
Clinging, that's
desire.
right. Yes, so that's what I was going to say. It's not. It's about our relationship to it, not about the thing itself. So what happens here is the best way I can probably describe what happens for me. And I'm not saying anything's right or wrong or whatever, but if something turns up that we would describe as a desire, I want something, it's just recognize that that's the way something is expressed.
O Bože, Isuse blagi, Majko, Helena, ono.
I keep muting Maya, but she keeps unmuting. So with that expression of something that's turned up, is there well, firstly, is there a belief that because it's there, it has to happen? That's a really big one. Is there something inherent in the want that is going to bring about its satisfaction? So what happens here is the recognition that now this is very close to home stuff for me, because I've recognized quite recently how that I did have a belief that simply wanting it hard enough had some power to bring it about, and that was a belief that I recognized still exists fairly recently for me. But I'll ask you, does it have power in itself to bring about that thing? So when you say, oh, I feel like I might be getting attached to it, it's not the want itself that is causing the attachment. It's what triggered the want that is doing it. So is that coming out of a place of how can I put it, a place of absence that we need to fill? Are there stories that won't it be wonderful if that happens?
right? And I'm very aware of that. And no, actually, I was kind of surprised that it came at all of this desire to move because I don't really like moving.
Mm.
And I've always loved it here. And so it was more of it's reminding me of other things in my life where it has felt like this isn't really about me. This
Mm-hmm.
is life moving me in this direction.
Yep. Okay. So that's a good one. So what happens here is that in most cases, I would say comes along a story that says it will happen or not,
Ana Barlasan loppu.
and and if it happens, if it happens, it will be because circumstances bring it about. And it may be that I contribute to some of those circumstances, but I have a really small possibility of adding to that kind of thing. So it's almost like I kind of go, well, let's see what life does. Will it happen or not happen? You know, it's not about me doing it.
Yeah, I am trying to hold it loosely. It's that it's interesting that like there's excitement now coming up around like this potential. And so that's what I feel like I'm getting attached to of like, oh, but I'm also looking at it like, okay, well, if that doesn't happen and I stay here, well, then things will happen here to re-engage me into being here. But it feels
Yep.
like I'm in transition right now. Like I'm not really wanting to engage so much here. I'm not feeling the pull here anymore. I'm feeling the pull towards somewhere else.
Yeah,
But
sure.
since
Yeah.
I'm not somewhere else yet, and again, kind of just like the old fear of life in general, though, too, the thoughts come into of like, don't get too excited about this because then you're gonna crash,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, but I am getting excited, and
Yeah.
that's fine. Maybe it will crash and burn, and then things will
Yeah.
shift in a different direction.
So you always look for what's underneath. So I mean, for one of the things that might happen is that you stories start happening, fantasies about what it will be like if, right? And then you ask yourself when you recognize that that's happened, you say, "Oh, what is that fulfilling?" You know, why am I getting excited about a possibility somewhere else, some in time in the future? Is it because what's happening right now is not that way? As a possibility, just a possibility. It just gives you a direction to look, you know. And then you go, well, I don't really like moving. And then because there's a story there of all the effort involved in packing up a house and moving and unpacking and setting up and so on. Well, again, the reality is that if moving happens, that stuff will also just happen. And it's like one thing at a time going into a carton to be put on the truck. It's not a whole truckload of stuff. It's just one cup, one plate, one glass, whatever. Yeah. And so then there's no effort involved. It's like, there you are, completely absorbed in wrapping newspaper around a glass or whatever it is. Yeah. And then next thing you know, you're there and you've been there for 3 weeks and it's like you've been there for a year. Yeah. These things turn up to show us stuff. Mm.
If I can share a thought, you you said before that before you didn't feel safe in life, and I thought that maybe this wanting is a bit like I want to do it because I can.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think
Before I couldn't.
I think that for sure there I'm definitely seeing a potential connection between like not being afraid of the fear that comes up with moving too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, seeing things more as an exciting potential as opposed to like a dread.
Mm.
You know, like, oh, I wish I didn't have this desire to move because of all the, you know, whatever, all the dreading things, as opposed to this feels really different to kind of feel excited
Yep.
about, you
Yeah.
know, about the potential, at least for
Cool.
it.
And it's never just one thing.
Mhm.
Everything is a multitude of things. And this is a big one too, because we often don't appreciate that we can hold quite opposite views at the same time.
Right.
And they're not in conflict with each other. They both can exist, one inside the other or one beside the other, whatever. Yeah. So lots and lots of things can come out of it. Yeah. And that's really what makes things quite exciting. It's got great discoveries involved in all of that stuff. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, the whole idea, oh, it's just about moving. Well, that's simplistic. It's way, way more than just that. Yeah.
I hope it's playful.
That's a great attitude to have towards it, because that's where the discovery is. When kids are playing, they discover stuff. So be a child and play for sure.
Then stop attaching purpose to everything.
Okay. Well, it is getting late here, so thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody. Thank you. See you next time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.